For 2 years, Cedar Hollow had been exactly the kind of neighborhood Hollis Vane wanted. Quiet houses, trimmed lawns, ordinary HOA arguments, and packages left on porches without much thought. During the last 6 months, 7 of Hollis's personal deliveries had disappeared. None was valuable enough to start a neighborhood war. Archival packing paper, an out-of-print catalog, coffee, handling gloves, a small screwdriver set, windshield wiper blades, and a cheap old wooden carving. His neighbor Merrow Pike always had an explanation. Drivers mixed up porches. Carriers issued refunds. Hollis bought so much old junk that maybe he had misplaced something himself. Hollis disliked Merrow's answers, but dislike was not evidence. At 37, Hollis worked as an independent art dealer and antique collector. The back room of his Cedar Hollow house served as a photography and cataloging studio, while expensive client property moved through insured carriers or secure storage. The missing packages were his own small purchases. That was why he kept letting them go. Each loss looked cheaper than the time required to fight about it. For 7 packages, Hollis had told himself the same thing. Not worth the time. He had suspected Merrow more than once. Merrow noticed deliveries. He worked from home several days a week, complained constantly about other people's use of the street, and always seemed to know when a package had gone missing before Hollis mentioned it. But Hollis had never seen him take one. That mattered. In Hollis's business, suspicion was where an investigation started, not where a conclusion ended. A dealer who confused those two things eventually accused the wrong consignor, bought the wrong story, or attached a false history to an object. Hollis refused to use a lower standard just because the dispute involved his own porch. Then, on a warm Thursday afternoon in September, the 8th package arrived. Hollis had been tracking it for 11 days. It had started in Ishikawa Prefecture, moved through an international sorting center, crossed the Pacific, cleared customs, and finally reached a local delivery contractor in Bellwether, Missouri. Inside was a sealed wooden reliquary he had purchased on eBay from a seller named Neijiho Kurabayashi. Hollis had bought from Neijiho twice before. She sold old folk objects, shop tools, wooden devotional pieces, estate leftovers, and the occasional item from commercial storage clearances. Her English was brief, but accurate. More importantly, when she did not know something, she said so. The reliquary had cost $310 before shipping. The listing called a late Edo or early Meiji ritual reliquary, sealed, provenance unverified. That last phrase had interested Hollis more than the rest. Provenance unverified. Not temple treasure, not samurai family relic, not ancient cursed box. Just an honest admission that the seller could only trace it to a group of objects removed from an old commercial storage building. The box in the listing photographs was about half the size of a shoebox. Dark brown wood, worn copper corners, faded red silk binding, a carved figure on the front that looked like several human silhouettes overlapping one another. An old paper label clung to the bottom, partly damaged and written in a mixture Hollis could not confidently read. It was exactly the kind of object he liked. Interesting enough to research. Uncertain enough not to overpay for. Small enough to put in his private collection and forget about until a rainy weekend. At 2:14 that afternoon, his phone showed the delivery notification. The attached photograph clearly showed the package on the left side of Hollis's porch, beside the narrow ceramic planter near his front door. At 2:32, Hollis turned into Cedar Hollow. 18 minutes. That was all. He parked, stepped out, and looked at the porch. Nothing. Hollis checked the delivery image again, although he already knew what it showed. His porch column, his doormat, his planter, the rectangular international parcel. He searched anyway. Behind the chair, beside the planter, near the garage. Nothing. Then he heard a garage door moving. The sound came from next door. Hollis turned. Merrow Pike's garage was closing. Through the narrowing gap, Hollis saw Merrow's SUV, a workbench, 2 plastic bins, and a rectangular cardboard package resting near the interior door. White international shipping label, black address block, Japanese postal markings. Then the door reached the ground. Hollis stood beside his driveway. For 7 missing packages, suspicion had never been enough to make him act. This time was different, not because the object was expensive, Because 18 minutes after a photograph delivery to his porch, an international parcel had appeared inside Merrow Pike's garage. Hollis could have crossed the lawn. He could have pounded on the garage door. Instead, he went inside and opened his collection database. There were people who responded to anger by shouting. Hollis responded by creating folders. The eBay purchase was already documented with payment, seller messages, shipping records, listing photographs, and the carrier's delivery image. Hollis saved a copy of everything. That was habit. In the art trade, an object did not need a glamorous history, but the history it had needed to be honest. He reopened Najaho's listing and checked the identifying details. A missing triangle of copper on one corner, a worn patch on the red binding, and a carved, overlapping figure. Then he reread 4 short notes he had previously dismissed as folklore. Do not remove the red silk. Do not place a mirror directly in front of the box. Ownership transfers only through willing exchange, and the seller assumes no responsibility for unauthorized possession. The last 2 lines looked different now. His phone buzzed. A notification from the Cedar Hollow neighborhood chat appeared on the screen. Hollis almost ignored it. Then he saw Merrow Pike's name. Merrow had posted a photograph. The wooden reliquary sat on his kitchen counter. The cardboard shipping box was gone. The red silk remained in place. The missing copper corner and worn patch on the binding were both visible. Merrow's message said he had found a strange Japanese box at a flea market and asked whether anyone knew what it was. Hollis stared for several seconds. Then he laughed once. Not because it was funny, because laughing was cheaper than crossing the lawn. Replies appeared under Merrow's post. Marin Renwick asked whether it was a jewelry box. Another neighbor said it looked creepy. Someone else asked how much it cost. Merrow replied that it was probably tourist junk and added, "People pay crazy money for this stuff." Hollis saved the image. Then he saved the entire conversation with Merrow's name and timestamp visible. Only after that did he reply, "Interesting. I bought the same one last week." The neighborhood chat went silent. 5 seconds passed. 10. Then Merrow's photograph disappeared. Deleted. Hollis saved another screenshot. A private message arrived almost immediately. Merrow wrote, "What are you implying?" Hollis answered, "I'm not implying anything." Merrow replied, "You said you bought the same one." "I did. So you asked if anyone knew what it was." There was a pause before Merrow answered. "Mine came from a flea market." Hollis considered asking which flea market. Instead, he wrote, "Then I'm sure you have nothing to worry about." Merrow did not respond. That evening, Hollis contacted Najaho. He explained that the reliquary had been marked delivered, but he believed another person had taken it from his porch. He asked whether the language about unauthorized possession referred to any practical concern. Because of the time difference, Najaho did not answer until after midnight. Her first reply was simple. "If someone else has it, do not take it back by force." Hollis sat up in bed and read the message twice. He asked why. Najaho replied, "Ask them to return it willingly." Hollis asked whether she meant a legal concern. After a long pause, Najaho answered no. Hollis frowned at the screen. "What kind of concern?" This time, Najaho responded almost immediately. "Because then it knows who took it." Hollis stared at that sentence. His first reaction was irritation. He had asked a serious question and received an answer that sounded like the final line of a cheap horror trailer. He typed, "What does that mean?" Najaho did not reply. Hollis checked the time. 12:19 a.m. He placed the phone on the nightstand. "Of course," he muttered. "The week I stop ignoring stolen packages, I buy a box with opinions." The next morning, someone pounded on his front door at 7-Eleven. Hollis came downstairs and saw Merrow through the side window. Merrow was already dressed for work in a light blue polo and khaki pants. His hair was combed. His face looked as if he had not slept. Hollis opened the inner door but left the storm door closed. "Morning," Hollis said. Merrow did not return the greeting. "You came into my house." Hollis looked at him. "No, my keys disappeared." "I'm sorry to hear that." "Don't do that." "Do what?" "That calm thing." Hollis waited. Merrow gripped the handle of the storm door from the outside. "My car keys were on the kitchen counter last night. This morning they were gone. I searched for 20 minutes. And they were in the refrigerator." Hollis glanced toward Merrow's house. Why would I put your keys in your refrigerator? Mero's jaw tightened. You tell me. I can't. You sell weird antiques. That is not a transportation method. Mero stared at him. Hollis continued. Did anything else happen? The question made Mero hesitate. That was answer enough. What? Hollis asked. My wallet. What about it? It was in the washing machine. Was the machine running? No. Then, that was considerate. Mero's expression hardened. Hollis lifted one hand. You think this is funny? I think you're accusing me of entering your house without evidence. Mero leaned closer to the glass. You knew about the box. I know I bought it. You knew something was wrong with it. I knew the seller wrote strange handling notes. That's the same thing. No, it isn't. Mero slapped one palm against the storm door. Fix it. Hollis looked at him for a moment. Then he said, return the box. I don't have a box. Then I can't imagine why you came here. Mero's face changed. For half a second, Hollis thought he might admit it. Instead, Mero stepped back. You're going to regret this. Hollis opened the storm door a few inches. Mero stopped. Hollis kept his voice calm. If you took the package, bring it back and tell me you took it. We can deal with everything else after that. Mero gave a short, angry laugh. You really think you're clever? No, I think ownership is usually simpler than people make it. Mero walked away. That afternoon, Sable Pike called Hollis. She was Mero's wife, practical and usually uninterested in neighborhood drama. She asked whether Mero had confronted him that morning. Then, sounding embarrassed, she admitted that his watch had appeared in the dog food, his headphones by the grill, and several other belongings in places neither of them could explain. Hollis asked about the Japanese box. Sable said it was still on their kitchen counter. Mero had told her it came from a flea market. Hollis explained that he had bought it online and had the payment record, international tracking, delivery photograph, and Mero's deleted post. Sable asked, Are you saying you stole it? I'm telling you what I can document, Hollis replied. She sighed. That is such a Hollis answer. When Sable asked what she should do, Hollis told her he wanted Mero to return the box himself. Why? Because the seller specifically told me not to take it back by force. Sable went quiet. You think it's cursed? No, I think the seller believes something strange about it. I'm trying to keep the rest of this normal. Sable promised to speak to Mero. Meanwhile, Hollis reported the missing parcel to the carrier. Delivery contractor Orson Bell confirmed that he had placed it on Hollis's porch and agreed to preserve the delivery record and metadata. Orson sounded confused. Is this a high-value shipment? No. How high? $310. There was a pause. Orson asked, Then why do you sound like a lawyer? I sell art. That did not answer the question. It explains the condition. Orson laughed and agreed to preserve the original delivery record. Hollis also saved the case number from the carrier. It did not prove who had removed the parcel after delivery, but it closed one possible excuse. The package had not been left at the wrong house. It had reached the correct porch before it disappeared. For the first time, Hollis was building a record instead of accepting a refund and moving on. That night, at exactly 3:17 in the morning, Mero's kitchen camera uploaded a 12-second clip. Hollis did not see it until the next day. Mero posted it himself. He wrote in the neighborhood chat that someone had hacked his security system and that he wanted to know whether anyone recognized the method. The clip showed Mero's empty kitchen. No person entered. No hand reached in a frame. The wooden reliquary sat on the table. At 3:17, it rotated 90 degrees. That was all. No lights flashed. No smoke appeared. The box simply turned. Mero wrote, This is a trick. Somebody is accessing my system. Ivo Renwick, who worked in software testing, asked whether the camera stored locally or in the cloud. Mero answered that it stored both. Ivo asked whether the local recording matched the uploaded clip. Mero did not answer. Hollis saved the video. Then he messaged Mero privately. Return it. Mero replied. Stop contacting me. Olisan suert, fine. 10 minutes later, Mero wrote again. What exactly did the seller say? Hollis looked at the message. He typed, She said not to take it back by force. Mero's response came immediately. What? I asked the same question. And Hollis copied Najaho's sentence. Because then it knows who took it. Mero called him. Hollis answered. For a few seconds, neither man spoke. Then Mero said, "You think this is funny? No. You bought some prop, and now you're using it to scare me. I did not put it in your kitchen. You know people who restore antiques. You know photographers. You know weird collectors. That is a surprisingly broad conspiracy. Don't be an ass. Then tell me what you want. I want you to make it stop." Hollis replied, "You keep asking me to fix something you also insist you don't have." Mero breathed into the phone. Then he said, "Hypothetically." "No." "What?" "No hypothetical version." Mero snapped. "You know what I mean." "Edo. I'm choosing not to help you lie around the noun." Silence. Finally, Hollis said, "You took it." "I didn't give it to you. Bring it back and say that." Mero hung up. The next morning, the first old loss returned. Aloan Rusk, a retired librarian 3 houses down, found her garden shears in Mero's flower bed. Blue tape covered one broken handle, and her initials were underneath. Mero insisted somebody had planted them. Aloan answered, "I didn't say how they arrived. I said they're mine." By lunch, Marin Renwick found a kitchen timer on Mero's SUV. Ivo Renwick found a dog toy that had vanished after a misdelivered pet supply order. The following day, Aloan recognized her grandson's missing baseball glove in a bin beside Mero's garage. More small objects followed: a sprained nozzle, a tea tin, unopened household supplies. Some had clear owners. Others did not. Hollis refused to let the neighborhood turn the discoveries into a guessing game. In the group chat, he told everyone to separate what they could prove for what they suspected and to check delivery photos, dates, receipts, and carrier records. Ivo replied, "You're ruining the fun." Hollis answered, "Yes." Aloan added, "He is correct." The returned objects still formed a pattern. They had disappeared over months, and now they were reappearing around Mero's property. Mero accused Hollis of staging everything. Hollis asked how. Mero said, "You're the one who buys strange things for a living." Aloan replied before Hollis could. "Did he steal my shears 3 months ago because he knew we would eventually have this conversation?" Mero walked away. That evening, Mero carried the Cajabito reliquary across the lawn. Hollis saw him through the studio window. Mero set the box on Hollis's porch, stepped back, and knocked once. Hollis opened the front door. The box sat between them. Mero pointed at it. "Take your creepy junk back." Hollis did not move. "You opened my package," Hollis said. Mero's face hardened. "I found that." "Where?" "I already told you. At a flea market." "Yes." "Which one?" Mero did not answer. Hollis nodded toward the box. "You didn't buy it from me." "I didn't lend it to you. I didn't give it to you. So take it." "No." Mero blinked. "What?" "Return it. It's right there. That's delivery. I'm asking for acknowledgement." Mero gave a disbelieving laugh. "You want a ceremony?" "No. I want one accurate sentence." "You're insane. Then this should be easy." Mero stepped closer. "What sentence?" Hollis looked directly at him. "I took this from you without permission. I'm returning it because it belongs to you." Mero stared. Then he laughed again. "I'm not saying that." "Then I'm not touching it." "You think you can leave this thing on my property? You brought it here. It was yours. It is mine." "That makes no sense." "It makes perfect sense. Ownership and physical possession are not the same thing." Mero looked at the box, then at Hollis. "This is why nobody likes art dealers." "I accept that risk." Mero walked away. Hollis left the box on the porch. He did not enjoy doing it. He wanted to inspect the wood. He wanted to photograph the paper label. He wanted to examine the copper fittings under magnification and compare the red binding to known examples. But Najaho's warning had been specific. Do not take it back by force. Ask for willing return. Hollis did not believe the box was enforcing a supernatural contract. Not yet. Still, when a strange seller warned him not to interfere with the custody of a strange object while strange things were happening, ignoring the warning seemed less rational than following it. He set one of his cameras to record the porch and went to bed. At 6:43 the next morning, the Cajabito reliquary was gone. Hollis checked the footage. No one had approached the porch. At 5:12, the box was there. At 5:13, the image glitched for less than 1 second. At 5:14, The porch was empty. At 6:51, Sable sent him a photograph. The reliquary sat on the pike kitchen table. Her message said, "Marrow is not handling this well." Hollis replied, "I gathered that." Marrow spent the next 48 hours trying to get rid of it. First, he put the reliquary in his trash before collection. That afternoon, it appeared in the cargo area of his SUV. He drove it to a public lake and left it beside a trash container. When he returned home, the box was waiting on a bench inside his entryway. Then he carried it into a second-hand store across town and told the clerk it was free. The clerk accepted it. Less than an hour later, he called Hollis because a folded e-buy receipt with Hollis's name was still tucked into the discarded packing material. Before Hollis could explain the situation, the clerk called again. "The box is gone." Hollis asked, "Sold?" "No, gone." "Did someone take it?" "I don't know. We have cameras. Check them." 20 minutes later, the clerk called a third time. The video jumps. It's behind the counter. The picture skips for maybe one frame, and then it isn't. While the clerk was speaking, Hollis's phone vibrated. Marrow had sent a photograph from inside his SUV. The reliquary sat on the passenger seat. Marrow's message asked, "What did you do?" Hollis replied, "Nothing." Marrow called immediately. "You expect me to believe that?" "Yes. I left it across town." "I know. The shop called me." For once, Marrow had no instant response. Then he said, "You arranged this." Hollis asked, "How would I arrange for an object to disappear from a store and appear inside your locked vehicle?" "You tell me." "I don't have a theory." "You always have a theory." "No," Hollis said. "I usually have records." Marrow hung up. Finally, Marrow slipped the box into Hollis's outdoor trash cart at night. Hollis's camera recorded the act clearly. By morning, the cart was empty. Sable sent a message. "Is under our bed." Hollis reopened Najaho's listing. Ownership transfers only through willing exchange. In his own profession, custody and ownership were different things. Museums held objects they did not own. Dealers held consignments. Shippers transported property without acquiring it. Transfer required consent. The box seemed to be applying that distinction with impossible strictness. Moving it was easy. Transferring it was not. That afternoon, Cressida Vale called. Hollis's older sister lived 2 states away and understood his habits too well. After hearing the story, Cressida said, "I'm going to ignore the haunted accounting box for a moment." "Thank you. You keep records for everything. You once made me photograph a $20 garage sale lamp before you would discuss it. That lamp was a problem. And you've had 7 packages disappear. Why haven't you filed a report?" "They were small losses." Cressida answered, "They stopped being small while you were ignoring them." Hollis admitted that he had suspected Marrow, but could not prove every theft. "You didn't need to prove all 7 to report a pattern," Cressida said. "You just didn't want the inconvenience." That part was true. Before hanging up, she added, "You don't have to become the neighborhood sheriff. But if you never defend a boundary, someone like Marrow will eventually call your silence permission." That sentence stayed with Hollis after the call ended. The next night, Marrow's upstairs camera recorded something new. At 3:17, Marrow left the bedroom and walked down the hall for water. The corridor behind him was empty. Then the picture flickered. At the far end stood a thin, dark figure. It was roughly human height, but unnaturally narrow, as if several shadows had been pressed into the same shape. Marrow kept walking. He never looked back. 3 seconds later, the image dissolved into static. When it returned, the hallway was empty. Marrow posted the clip the next morning and wrote that whoever was doing this had crossed a line. Evo asked what exactly someone was supposedly doing. "Projecting images into my house," Marrow replied. Marin asked, "How would someone project an image into a hallway behind you?" Marrow answered, "Ask Hollis." That changed the tone. Marrow publicly suggested that Hollis's antiques business gave him access to restorers, photographers, collectors, and other people who could fabricate occult recordings. He described the entire situation as a stunt. Hollis did not defend himself with a speech. He wrote, "I do not sell occult services, and I did not create your recording." Then he saved the exchange. The next night, at the same minute, the figure appeared halfway down the hallway. On the third night, Marrow stood in the kitchen, opening the refrigerator. The dark figure was directly behind him. It did not touch him. It did not move. The shape simply occupied the space where his shadow should have been. Marrow closed the refrigerator and walked away without ever seeing it. Then the recording broke into static. Sable called Hollis afterward. "Can that thing hurt him?" "I don't know. Can you please stop saying that?" "No. I know what I bought, what the seller told me, and what the camera shows. I do not know what that figure is." Sable said Marrow wanted to burn the reliquary. Hollis told her not to let him cut the red binding. "You believe the listing now?" she asked. "I believe ignoring instructions has not improved the situation." The neighborhood accusations soon reached one of Hollis's local clients, who asked whether he was storing dangerous ritual objects at his home business. That was the point when Marrow's panic became a threat to Hollis's reputation. Hollis answered the client professionally. The reliquary was a private research acquisition. Its age and function were unverified, and there was no known hazardous material. Then he created a new folder. Marrow Pike, Incident Timeline. Hollis entered only facts he could support. The delivery record, Marrow's deleted post, private messages, Najaho's warning, Orson Bell's confirmation, the 17 recordings, documented recovery claims, and corroborated attempts to abandon the box. He kept assumptions separate. Hollis had seen too many people ruin a strong case by exaggerating. He was not going to do that. The next morning, Marrow filed a formal complaint with the Cedar Hollow Homeowners Association. Bramwell Quill arrived with 2 committee members. Bram was a local accountant who treated HOA procedure with the joy of a man processing tax forms. The complaint accused Hollis of improper business activity, hazardous materials, intrusive cameras, and dangerous religious merchandise. Hollis invited them in. His studio passed inspection easily. The cameras covered his own property. Delivery volume was normal. High-value art used secure shipping. No hazardous material was present. One committee member pointed at an old ceramic angel and asked whether Hollis kept dangerous religious objects. "Not unless that falls on someone," Hollis replied. Bram lowered his clipboard. "Please help me finish this before lunch." Eventually, Bram asked where the supposedly dangerous Japanese object was. "At Mr. Pike's house, as far as I know," Hollis said. The committee went quiet. Hollis showed Bram the eBay purchase record, international tracking, delivery photograph, Marrow's deleted post, and the private messages. Bram asked whether Hollis had reported the theft. "Not yet." Bram stared at him. "My sister has already given me that look," Hollis said. "I agree with your sister." At 9:42, the 3 HOA representatives crossed the lawn to speak with Marrow. Hollis returned to his studio. 16 minutes later, Bram came back and pointed toward Marrow's porch. A stack of paper sat beside the door. Not a neat stack. Hundreds of pages lay in clipped bundles and transparent sleeves, with loose sheets scattered across the porch. Marrow stood over them, looking furious. Sable remained near the doorway. One of the HOA committee members was already reading. There were copies of complaints Marrow had filed over the previous 2 years. The originals were still in the association office. No one could explain where the copies had come from. What mattered was what they showed. Many complaints contained photographs of ordinary neighborhood violations: late trash cans, lawn height, visitor parking, backyard storage. But the camera angles were wrong. One photograph showed Ivo Renwick's office window from beside the house. Another showed the Renwick's patio from the rear property line. Others had been taken through open garage doors, across fences, or from side yards where Marrow had no reason to stand. Ivo looked at one page and said, "That's my office window." Marrow replied, "The blinds were open." "That does not answer what I said." Marin held up another photograph. "You walked behind our house to take this." "I was on common ground." Bramri played. "No." I checked the property map. Aloan arrived with coffee and asked Hollis whether he had produced the mysterious pile. "No, I assume not," she said. "You would have alphabetized it." Hollis looked at the disorderly pages. She was right. Individually, Marrow's complaints had made him look fussy. Together, they showed years of watching other residents and pushing against private boundaries whenever he thought a rule justified it. There were complaints about a trash cart left out too long, a lawn slightly above regulation height, a child's bicycle near a driveway, a visitor's car, a storage rack, and a barbecue grill. None was extraordinary alone. The photographs were the problem. One had been taken from behind a hedge, another from the narrow strip beside a garage. Several showed angles into yards that could not be seen from a public sidewalk. Merrow had spent years insisting that rules were rules. Now, the same idea was turning toward him. Property lines were also rules. Merrow called the exposure harassment. Bram answered, "The appearance of these copies is unexplained. Their content is not." Sable looked at her husband. "Did you go behind their houses to take those pictures?" Merrow said he had been documenting violations. "That wasn't my question," Sable replied. No one shouted. That was worse. For the first time since the 8th package disappeared, the neighborhood was not focused on Hollis's strange antique. It was focused on Merrow's own record. Merrow had spent years collecting evidence against everyone else. Now the evidence was describing him. Later that afternoon, Hollis returned to the studio and placed the recovered HOA material into his incident folder. He labeled every document he could identify by date and source. He also wrote a note that the mechanism by which the copies appeared was unknown. That mattered to him. A strange event did not become evidence of specific cause merely because it was strange. He could prove the complaints existed. He could prove Merrow had submitted them. He could not prove the reliquary had produced the copies. Those were separate claims, and Hollis intended to keep them separate. He did not know why copies of Merrow's complaints had appeared on the porch. He did not know how the reliquary had moved between locked rooms and vehicles. He did not know what the figure in the camera recordings was. But the structure was becoming harder to ignore. The box had been taken without permission. Then Merrow's misplaced belongings began appearing in absurd locations. Old neighborhood property began reappearing around his house. Attempts to abandon the box failed because no real transfer had occurred. After Merrow accused Hollis publicly, recordings showed something standing behind him. After Merrow used the HOA to attack Hollis, Merrow's own history of surveillance appeared in public. The responses were not random. They were specific. Hollis opened a fresh page in the database. He wrote one line: possible relationship, possession, consent, prior conduct. Then he stopped. That was still only a theory. Across the lawn, Merrow's curtains were closed. His cameras remained active. At 3:17 the following morning, every one of them recorded the same thing. Nothing entered the house. Nothing left. But in the upstairs hallway, the thin, dark figure was closer than it had ever been. It stood so near Merrow's bedroom door that one long arm seemed to disappear into the shadow of the frame. And downstairs, on the kitchen table, the Cajabito reliquary slowly turned until the carved, overlapping figure faced the hallway. For the first time, Hollis watched the video without trying to invent a mechanical explanation. He still did not call it a ghost. He still did not call it a curse. But he closed the file, looked through the studio window at Merrow Pike's dark house, and admitted something smaller. Whatever was happening had rules. The thought should have reassured him. Rules could be studied. Instead, it made the carved figure on the reliquary feel more disturbing. A random haunting could be chaos. This did not look random. It looked as though something had noticed the difference between taking, owning, returning, watching, accusing, and proving. Those were distinctions Hollis had spent his entire adult life making professionally. He had never expected anything else to care. Whatever was happening had rules, and Merrow had already broken most of them. By Tuesday morning, the rules had begun knocking. At 3:17 a.m., 3 knocks sounded from the wall beside Merrow Pike's downstairs bathroom. There was a pause, then 2 knocks, another pause, and 3 more. The next night, the same pattern came from the living room. On the 3rd night, it came from behind Merrow and Sable's headboard. Merrow called Wystan Cole, a local repairman who had worked on half the houses in Cedar Hollow. Before entering the Pike house, Wystan crossed the lawn and knocked on Hollis's door. "Your neighbor says you have some kind of machine," Wystan told him. "What kind?" "He doesn't know. Something that makes sounds inside walls." "I sell antiques." "I know." Apparently, he doesn't. Wystan sighed. I'm asking because I don't want to cut open drywall and find a Bluetooth speaker. Did you hide one? No. Good enough. He spent 2 hours checking pipes, vents, wiring, siding, wall cavities, and the attic. He found no animal, loose pipe, hidden device, or structural reason for the sound. Marrow still insisted that he opened the living room wall. The cavity held insulation, wiring, 2 wooden studs, and nothing else. Keep looking, Marrow said. For what? Whiston asked. The source. There isn't one here. Then open the next section. Sable stopped him. We are not taking the house apart. Marrow pointed at the empty wall. You hear it too? Yes, she replied. And the wall is empty. Whiston repaired the drywall and left a written invoice stating that he had found no mechanical or structural cause. At 3:17 the following morning, the knocking returned from the repaired wall. 3. Pause. 2. Pause. 3. Marrow shouted, Stop. The sound stopped. 10 seconds later, it began from the wall directly behind him. Sable took a pillow and walked toward the guest room. Marrow asked where she was going. To sleep somewhere the wall doesn't know me yet. That morning, Sable messaged Hollis and asked him to contact Najaho. Hollis described the repeated knocking, the returned property, the HOA records, and the figure captured on Marrow's cameras. He asked whether these were separate effects. Najaho answered several hours later. Maybe same. Then she added, It reflects what was taken or imposed. Hollis asked what she meant by imposed. Najaho's English was rough, but her next message was clear enough. Taking is not only object, sometimes taking quiet, taking privacy, making burden and saying it is their fault. Old notes use same idea. Hollis sat back from his desk. Marrow had spent 2 years treating other people's boundaries as optional. He took packages. He washed yards from places he did not belong. He used complaints to control neighbors while ignoring the limits that applied to him. Now he had noise he could not stop, could not locate, and could not blame on anyone else. Hollis asked Najaho one more question. Does the object punish? She replied, I do not know if punish is correct. A minute later, another message appeared. Maybe accounting. That word bothered Hollis more than curse. A curse could be irrational. Accounting implied entries that were expected to balance. He opened his incident timeline and added a column labeled past conduct. Then he matched what had happened with what the neighborhood already knew. Missing property had returned. Marrow's surveillance photographs had returned in public form. A man who had spent years complaining about other people's noise now heard unexplained knocking inside his own walls. The shadow appeared after he accused Hollis of manufacturing a threat. Hollis did not write cause. He wrote possible correspondence. Then Marrow's food began disappearing. The first order was a burger and fries. The delivery app marked it delivered. The camera showed the driver placing the bag beside the door and leaving. 2 minutes later, Marrow opened the door. The porch was empty. The bag turned up 20 minutes later in the coat closet. The next night, Thai food vanished between the delivery notification and Marrow opening the door. He caught the driver halfway to the car and accused him of taking it back. Sable pulled Marrow inside before the argument got worse. They found the food in the clothes dryer. 3 more deliveries disappeared the same way, turning up in the garage, an empty suitcase, and the trunk of Marrow's SUV. Maren Renwick was the first person to notice the joke had history. Years earlier, a pizza intended for the Renwicks had been left at the Pike house. Marrow denied seeing it. The empty box appeared in his recycling the next morning. Aloan remembered a misdelivered grocery bag Marrow had denied receiving. Months later, her imported T10 had been one of the first objects to reappear near his garage. Hollis added another entry to his table. Past conduct. Kept food delivered to other people. Current effect. Correctly delivered food becomes unavailable to Marrow until after he accuses someone else. It was absurd. It was also specific. Cressida called while Hollis was working. After hearing about the meals, his sister said, So the haunted box has put him on a meal plan. That is not my interpretation. It's mine. He gets the food back. Cold. Usually. Cressida laughed. That thing is petty. Hollis looked at the table. No, I think that's the problem. What? It may be extremely literal. The following afternoon, Marrow came to Hollis's door. He still wore a clean polo and khakis, but he looked exhausted. His eyes kept moving toward his own house. "What does it want?" he asked. Hollis did not pretend to misunderstand. "I think it responds to unauthorized possession and related behavior." "You said that already." "The seller thinks the other events reflect what you took from people or imposed on them." Marrow stared. "What does that mean?" "I think the food is obvious." Marrow's face tightened. "So are the HOA records," Hollis added. "You think I deserve this?" "That is a different question. You're enjoying it." "No. I would enjoy having my week back." Marrow lowered his voice. "Tell me how to stop it." "Return what isn't yours." "I gave you the box. You dropped it on my porch while denying you took it." "Apparently, that did not count." "What else?" Hollis answered. "The truth would help." Marrow stepped back. "There it is. You want me to say I stole your packages? I want you to stop asking me to solve a problem while refusing to name how it started. You have no proof." "Not enough for all of them." For 1 second, Marrow visibly relaxed. Hollis noticed. Then he said, "Yet." 2 mornings later, Officer Thane Mercer knocked on Hollis's door. Mercer was 46, practical, and uninterested in discussing ghosts. He had already taken the initial report on the Cajabito package after Hollis finally stopped treating repeated theft as an inconvenience. This time Mercer said, "I need to ask you about a set of headphones." "Mine." "No, Aloan Rusk's grandsons." Hollis stopped. Mercer continued. "Someone anonymously reported seeing them in your outdoor trash." Hollis looked toward the driveway. "My camera covers the trash cart. That is why I'm here." They reviewed the recording. At 7:03 that morning, Marrow walked up Hollis's driveway, carrying a clear grocery bag. He looked toward the house, opened the trash cart, placed the bag inside, and walked away. Officer Mercer watched the clip twice. Then they went outside. Near the top of the trash was a clear bag containing black over-ear headphones. Mercer photographed them before touching anything. Aloan appeared at the edge of the driveway. "Those are my grandsons," she said. Mercer raised a hand. "Please give me a minute. Do you have proof of purchase?" Aloan looked almost offended by the question. "Yes, you do. I keep receipts." Hollis said she cataloged books for 37 years. Mercer gave Hollis a flat look. "Relevant professional context," Hollis said. 6 minutes later, Aloan returned with an order confirmation, warranty registration, and old photographs. A serial number under one hinge matched the warranty record. She said the headphones had disappeared 5 weeks earlier from the bench inside her screen porch. Marrow had been at her house that afternoon delivering an HOA notice. By noon, Marrow had offered Mercer 3 incompatible explanations for how the headphones reached Hollis's trash. Mercer pointed out that every version still ended with Marrow placing them there. Marrow accused Hollis of manipulating the footage because he knew photographers and art restorers. He had no evidence. Hollis added the incident to his timeline under a separate label. Verified attempted frame camera. That evening, Ivo Renwick found an older doorbell recording of Marrow carrying a parcel with Renwick visible on the label. Marin's old order email matched the date and package size. Then Aloan found stronger evidence. Her daughter's parking camera had recorded Marrow entering the screen porch and walking away with the headphones. Normal metadata, normal camera, normal chain of custody. Aloan sent the original file directly to Officer Mercer. After that recording, Marrow could no longer say nobody had ever seen him take anything. At 3:17 the next morning, his television turned on by itself. Sable came downstairs and saw a video of Marrow taking Aloan's headphones. Marrow shut the television off. It turned on again. The image changed to Marrow lifting a delivery box from the Renwick's porch. He unplugged the television. For several seconds, the video continued. Then the kitchen tablet lit up with another recording. Different date, different clothes. Marrow walking away from another porch with a padded envelope. Marrow grabbed the tablet. "This is Hollis." Sable looked at the image. "Is that you?" "It's fake. That's your old gray work jacket." "So, is that you?" "No." He unplugged the router. The tablet kept playing. Marrow pulled the camera recorder from the cabinet and smashed it on the floor. Sable shouted for him to stop. The video appeared on her phone. He knocked the phone from her hand. The microwave display changed. Where the clock should have been, words appeared. Return what is not yours. 5 seconds later, the microwave returned to 3:17. 3 knocks sounded from the kitchen wall. Pause. 2. Pause. 3. Over the next 2 nights, the videos appeared on whatever screens Marrow had not destroyed. They never showed a ghost. They showed him. Again and again, he walked onto porches and left carrying property. Hollis refused to treat the recovered recordings as legal proof. No one could establish where they came from or whether they had been altered. Officer Mercer agreed. When Hollis showed him one clip, Mercer asked, "Original file?" "No." "Normal source?" "No." "Can anyone explain how it got onto the device?" "No." "Then it may be interesting, but it isn't where I start." Hollis nodded. "Good." Mercer looked at him. "You seem relieved. Someone should continue using normal standards." "Then let's use them." Those standards were already becoming worse for Marrow than the impossible videos. The headphone theft had independent footage. The Renwick parcel had independent footage. Orson Bell's delivery metadata placed the reliquary on Hollis's porch. Several neighbors had saved Marrow's deleted photo showing the same reliquary in his kitchen. And Sable had started searching her basement. She waited until Marrow left for work. Behind plastic storage bins, she found flattened shipping boxes. The first label she saw was addressed to Hollis Vane. Another said Renwick. Another said Rusk. There were open retail packages, padded envelopes, bubble mailers, and a few unopened items. Behind an old carton, she found a small dark wooden carving with an ugly face. Sable photographed everything and called Hollis. "I need you to tell me what not to do," she said. "Don't move anything unless you need to. I already moved one box." "That's fine. Stop now. There's a wooden carving. Photograph it where it is. Several angles." She sent the pictures. Hollis recognized it, but he did not rely on memory. He opened the original seller listing from months earlier. A shallow chip sat beneath the left side of the base. A dark grain line crossed one shoulder. The seller's inventory sticker ended in 714. All 3 details appeared in Sable's photographs. Hollis saved the comparison and called Officer Mercer. By the time Mercer arrived, Sable had found enough material that he brought another officer. Marrow returned while they were still outside. He saw the police car and stopped in the driveway. "What happened?" Sable stood beside the garage. "I found the boxes." "What boxes?" "The ones in the basement. They're work stuff. Some have Hollis's name on them." "Returns." "Hollis's returns?" Marrow looked toward Hollis. "Why is he here?" Officer Mercer answered. "I asked him to identify property if necessary." "You let him into my house?" Sable said. "I did. Without asking me?" "It's my house, too." Officer Mercer looked at Sable. "You consented to a search of the common basement?" "Yes." He turned to Marrow. "And you're refusing consent?" "Yes." "Then nobody goes in until I have a warrant." Marrow folded his arms. "Good." Mercer nodded. "Nobody moves or opens anything." Sable, preserve the photographs you already took. Mercer left to obtain a warrant. When he returned with one, he asked Hollis to come inside for identification only. Hollis said, "You were specifically inviting me into the house while you were present?" Mercer stared at him. "Yes." "Good. You really like permission." "Yes." "I noticed." It was Hollis's first time inside the Pike house. The basement smelled of laundry detergent, cardboard, and concrete. Officer Mercer pointed toward the carving. "That yours?" Hollis crouched without touching it. "The identification is very strong." He pointed out the chip, grain line, and seller sticker. Mercer photographed each detail. "Receipt?" Mercer asked. "Yes." "Listing photos?" "Yes." "Payment?" "Yes." Mercer nodded. "Of course." Hollis glanced up. That sounded judgmental. Admiration mixed with fatigue. Other objects looked familiar. A pair of handling gloves might have been Hollis's. A small screwdriver set resembled one he had lost. A package of archival tissue paper might also have been his. Hollis claimed none of them yet. "The carving is the only one I can strongly identify without checking records," he said. Merrill laughed from the stairs. Convenient. No, Kali's replied. Convenient would be pretending certainty. Sable stood behind them with her arms folded tightly. I didn't know. Hollis looked at her. I believe you. That doesn't help as much as I thought it would. Merrow said everything had been planted. Sable turned toward him. The videos? Fake. The boxes? Planted. The carving? Planted. The headphones? Merrow did not answer. Sable's voice changed. If those boxes belong to other people, this isn't a misunderstanding. You don't know what belongs to who. No, she said. That's why they're checking. For the first time, Hollis understood what frightened Merrow more than the shadow. A process. People making lists. People checking dates. People asking where every object came from. Merrow had lived comfortably inside uncertainty. Most of what he took was cheap enough that proving the loss felt more expensive than accepting it. Hollis suddenly understood why Merrow had targeted him repeatedly. Hollis received many packages. Hollis was busy. Hollis rarely complained. Merrow had mistaken restraint for permission. Back in his studio, Hollis built a master inventory. Object, possible owner, purchase record, delivery record, date missing, identifying features, current status, confidence. He contacted neighbors individually and asked for receipts, order emails, delivery photographs, serial numbers, warranty records, or old personal photos. If someone could not support a claim, Hollis did not mark the object as theirs. The Loan approved of this immediately. I do not forget objects, she told him. You forgot your daughter's car camera. That was a camera, not an object I was cataloging. Hollis decided not to argue with a retired librarian about classification. Some items had strong documentation. Some had moderate support. Some remained unknown. Hollis marked them exactly that way. By late afternoon, what had begun as a cursed neighbor story looked like a property audit. That was when Merrow decided to open the Cajabito reliquary. Sable warned Hollis by sending a photograph from the kitchen. The reliquary sat on the table with the red silk still tied around it. Beside the box lay a utility knife. Her message said, "He says he is done following its rules." Hollis replied immediately, "Do not let him cut the binding, but do not physically fight him." Sable called. "He thinks there's a device inside. That is still possible." "You still think that?" "I think cutting an antique apart in anger is a bad investigative method, even without a curse." Merrow heard the call. "Hollis," he said loudly, "you want to know what's inside your box? I want you not to cut the silk." Merrow laughed. "Why? It'll void the haunting warranty?" "No, because the seller warned against it, and because you have already demonstrated poor judgment around evidence." Merrow ended the call. Sable later described what happened. He cut through the red silk. Nothing screamed. Nothing moved. The binding fell loose. Merrow forced the lid open with a flat screwdriver. Inside there were no bones, no hair, no paper charms, no electronics, and no hidden mechanism. The box was almost empty. The underside of the lid had a glossy black surface. Across it ran a short line of old characters. Sable photographed the inscription. Merrow stared at the empty interior and laughed. "That's it." Then the kitchen lights went out. When they returned, the box was still open. Merrow carried it into the garage, put it on his workbench, and picked up a hammer. Sable said, "Don't." He struck the lid. The wood split. He hit it again. A copper corner bent away. He cracked the base, broke one side, and kept going until the reliquary lay in pieces. "There," Merrow said. Then the house went dark. Sable walked outside and crossed to Hollis's house. He opened it, she told Hollis. What was inside? Nothing except writing. "Did you photograph it?" "My phone died." "Battery?" 82%. What did Merrow do after opening it? She hesitated. "He smashed it." Hollis closed his eyes. "With what?" "A hammer." "How badly?" Sable stared at him. "That is your question?" It was still an antique. Despite everything, she almost smiled. Then every light in the Pike house came on at once. Sable's phone vibrated. The screen returned at 82% battery. Merrow had sent a photograph. The Cajabito reliquary sat intact on the kitchen table. Red silk restored. Copper corners in place. No cracks. No missing wood. Beside it lay the utility knife. Sable stared. Hollis asked, "You saw him destroy it?" "Yes." "You saw the pieces?" "Yes." "Where are they?" "I don't know." Something in Hollis's thinking finally changed. He had spent days insisting on ordinary explanations because old object had hidden repairs, cameras glitched, people lied, and memory failed. A box smashed into pieces and restored within minutes was different. He still did not understand what the reliquary was. He simply stopped wasting time pretending the explanation had to be normal. Sable's photographs returned when her phone recovered. Hollis sent the inscription image to Najaho and to Ellis Wren, an art dealer in Chicago who specialized in Japanese craft objects. He did not use an automatic translator and declare the mystery solved. Ellis called first. "Your photograph is terrible." "I know. What is the object?" "Wooden reliquary. Possible late 19th century. Date uncertain. Provenance. Bad." Ellis sighed. "Now I know why you bought it." He could read parts of the inscription, but warned Hollis that the wording was compressed and several characters were unclear. "It says something about a thief," Ellis said. "Something taken. Something about a name or account." "That is broad." "Yes. Language is rude that way." Najaho later sent her own rough interpretation. "What the thief takes returns to the thief's name." Ellis preferred. "What is taken by theft remains charged to the taker." Neither of them claimed that version was exact. Hollis saved both under the label approximate. Then he wrote beneath them, "Wrongful possession may be treated as an unresolved account." The next morning, the Pike house began opening itself. At 8:03, Sable heard the basement storage door slam. 3 plastic bins stood open. At 8:17, a cabinet under the stairs opened and revealed 2 unopened deliveries and a package addressed to another Cedar Hollow resident. At 8:26, the garage attic hatch dropped. A cardboard box fell and burst open, spilling empty shipping cartons, pet supplies, printer cartridges, and a child's baseball glove. Aloan identified the glove from Sable's photograph. At 9:04, a narrow panel behind garage shelving shifted loose. More packages were behind it. By 9:30, Officer Mercer was back. This time he brought another officer without being asked. Bram arrived because several items and dates connected to old HOA complaints. Mercer called Hollis. "We have more property." "How much?" "Enough. Do you want identification help?" "That's why I called." Hollis took his laptop next door. The dining table became a temporary catalog station. Photograph first. Object description. Possible owner. Supporting record. Serial number or unique mark if available. Confidence level. No one simply grabbed something because it looked familiar. A stainless travel mug claimed by 2 residents was marked disputed. A box of dog medication matched Evo's old order and prescription label. Confirmed. Hollis's missing screwdriver set contained a replacement bit he had added himself. Strong. Marrow watched the process with growing anger. "You people are acting like this is a museum excavation." Hollis did not look up. Museums usually have better labels. "This is my house," Officer Mercer replied, "and some of this appears to be other people's property." Marrow pointed at Hollis. "He's deciding that." "No," Mercer said. "Records are deciding that." Near noon, Sable brought down another carton. Inside were Hollis's missing windshield wiper blades, still sealed. The order number matched. Another box contained his out-of-print exhibition catalog. The corners were bent. After Mercer photographed it and released it for identification, Hollis examined the damage. Marrow said, "It's a book." "Yes. You can buy another." "No, that is what out-of-print means." 6 months earlier, Hollis might have been irritated and then gone back to work. Now he saw Marrow's entire method. Every loss was small enough to make anger look excessive. A book, a pair of gloves, bait surplus, a delivered meal, a few minutes of privacy, 1 photograph taken from the edge of yard. 1 lie. Marrow depended on each thing being judged alone. The reliquary had assembled a collection. By mid-afternoon, the table held receipts, photographs, serial numbers, order histories, and labeled items. More than a dozen items already had strong ownership documentation. Several more had credible claims. The scale was no longer compatible with mistake. Marrow began arguing technicalities. Some packages had been misdelivered. Some owners got refunds. Some items were inexpensive. He said that if a carrier refunded a buyer, there was no victim. Officer Mercer replied that a refund did not transfer ownership to Marrow. Marrow said, "No one had come asking." Aloan answered, "I came asking about my tea." Marin said, "We came asking about the pizza." Evo added, "And the pet order." Marrow turned toward Hollis. "You never came." Hollis considered that. "No, I didn't." For the first time all day, Marrow looked relieved. Hollis continued, "That was my mistake." Marrow blinked. "I kept deciding the amount was too small to justify the time," Hollis said. "I thought ignoring you was efficient." Marrow gave a thin smile. "So this is partly your fault." "No." The smile disappeared. "My failure to object did not give you permission. It only made you think you could continue." Hollis went back to the inventory. At 5:41, Sable found one final hidden space behind loose garage shelving. Among the flattened boxes was an unopened package of coffee addressed to Hollis. He checked the date. It was the first of the 7 deliveries he had dismissed as not worth pursuing. 6 months earlier, he had accepted the carrier refund and forgotten it. Now the package sat in front of him. Across the kitchen, the restored Cajabito reliquary remained silent. Marrow had smashed it less than a day earlier. Hollis looked from the coffee to the inventory and finally understood the shape of the rule. The box was not protecting its wooden body. It was protecting a relationship. Wrongful possession created an account. Distance did not close it. Destruction did not close it. Denial did not close it. And every attempt to shift blame seemed to make the account wider. Officer Mercer ended the days cataloging shortly after 6. "No one removes anything tonight unless it is specifically released," he said. Marrow laughed bitterly. "So my property stays trapped in my house because strangers say it belongs to them?" Mercer looked at the labeled table. "Mr. Pike, that sentence is doing a lot of work." Sable walked toward the stairs. Marrow called after her. "Where are you going?" "To pack a bag." "For what?" "To stay with my sister." "You're leaving because of Hollis?" Sable turned. "No." She pointed toward the basement. "I'm leaving because I found other people's names on boxes in my house, and every time I ask how they got there, you tell me I'm confused." Marrow looked away. Sable said quietly, "If those boxes belong to other people, this isn't a misunderstanding." Then she went upstairs. Hollis paused before leaving and looked once more at the first 7 items from his own missing delivery list. The strange thing was how ordinary they looked beside everything else. Coffee, gloves, wiper blades, a screwdriver set, a catalog, packing paper, a cheap carving. None had ever seemed important enough to justify an argument. That had been the mistake in his reasoning. He had measured each loss only by replacement cost, as if a boundary had to become expensive before it deserved protection. Marrow had measured the situation too. He had learned that Hollis would file a carrier claim, accept a refund, and return to work. He had learned that Aloan would blame a lost item on memory, that the Renwicks would blame delivery, and that most people would rather lose $30 and spend 3 hours proving someone had taken it. There had been no single moment when a neighborhood gave Marrow permission. There had only been many small moments when nobody wanted the trouble of saying no. Hollis understood his sister's warning now. Silence did not create consent, but someone determined to take advantage of silence could pretend that it did. Officer Mercer was packing his notes when Hollis said, "I should have reported the pattern earlier." Mercer looked at him. "Probably." Hollis waited for something more comforting. Nothing came. "That's all. You want me to tell you it would definitely have stopped him?" "No, then I don't know that." Hollis nodded. He appreciated the answer because it was accurate. Mercer added, "But reporting a boundary and causing someone else to cross it are 2 different things." Hollis looked toward the basement. "I know." This time he meant it. Hollis closed his laptop. The day had produced no confession and no final explanation. It had produced something Marrow feared more. A catalog. Every recovered object had a line. Every line had the same questions. Where did this come from? Who paid for it? Who was allowed to possess it? What could be proven? For Hollis, Those questions were ordinary. For Mero, they were becoming a cage. That night, Hollis backed up the inventory and added one sentence to his private research notes. Observed pattern increasingly consistent with unresolved wrongful possession rather than random phenomenon. At 3:16 the next morning, Hollis woke without an alarm. 1 minute later, faint knocking came from the Pike house. 3. Pause. 2. Pause. 3. Then Evo called. Hollis, you need to see this. More videos? No. The house. Evo sent a temporary camera feed that Sable had authorized him to monitor after Mero destroyed much of the original system. The kitchen camera showed the Cajabito reliquary sitting on the table. It did not move. A cabinet door opened. Then another camera activated. A closet opened. A storage bin tipped over. The feed switched to the garage. A box slid from a shelf and split. Objects spilled onto the floor. The attic hatch dropped. Another package fell onto the hallway carpet. One room after another. Mero's house continued the inventory. At 3:31, the feed returned to the kitchen. The reliquary still had not moved. Mero entered wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. He looked at the open cabinets, then at the box, then directly at the camera. "What do you want?" he whispered. The reliquary did not answer. The wall behind him did. 3 knocks. Pause. 2. Pause. 3. Hollis watched from his studio. On the desk, beside him, sat the inventory from the previous day. Receipts, serial numbers, delivery records, photographs, all the small things Mero had counted on other people forgetting. For weeks, Mero had insisted no one could prove what he had done. Now his house was opening itself one cabinet at a time. And Hollis, an art dealer who had spent his career asking where objects came from, finally had more provenance than Mero could explain. The next morning, Mero left Cedar Hollow. He did not tell Hollis. He told Sable in a text message that he needed space, packed an overnight bag, and drove toward Bellwether Airport. By 8:40 that evening, he had checked into a hotel. At 9:12, he called the front desk and reported that someone had entered his room. Hotel security arrived 6 minutes later. The Cajabito reliquary sat on the desk beside the television. Mero demanded another room. Security moved him 2 floors up. At 10:04, the reliquary was sitting on the bed. Mero checked out before 10:20. Hollis learned the details the following morning because Officer Mercer knocked on his door. Mercer looked as if he had slept almost as badly as Mero. "Where were you last night?" the officer asked. "Here. Can you prove that?" "Yes." "Show me." Hollis did. His home cameras covered the front and back entries. His computer logs showed work activity. He had spoken to Cressida on video for 23 minutes. A food delivery had arrived at 8:51, and Hollis had been visible taking it from the porch. Mercer reviewed the records and nodded. "What did Mero accuse me of?" Hollis asked. "Stalking him to the hotel and planting the box." "Do the cameras show me?" "No." "Anyone carrying the reliquary?" "No." Mercer rubbed his forehead. "This is where I tell you I still don't write haunted in reports." "I know." "This is also where I admit I don't have a normal sentence for what the hotel cameras show." "What do they show?" Pike enters the first room with one overnight bag. No wooden box. No one enters after him. Security opens the door 20 minutes later, and the box is on the desk. Second room. Same. Hollis looked toward his studio. Mercer added, "If you contact the seller again, ask whether the object can testify." "I'll include that." Mercer almost smiled. After the officer left, Hollis wrote Najaho a longer message. He summarized everything that had happened since the red silk was cut. The empty interior, the inscription, Mero smashing the box and seeing it restored, the property inventory, the hotel, the fact that distance appeared to have no effect. Then Hollis asked a question in the language he understood best. Does it follow the object, the buyer, or possession? Najaho did not answer for nearly 5 hours. Her first message said, not buyer, then not place, then not distance. Hollis waited. Another message arrived. Unauthorized de possession relation. He read those 3 words several times. so Marrow does not need to physically carry it. Hollis asked. Najaho answered, correct, maybe. The word maybe was reassuring in an odd way. Najaho still refused to claim more than she knew. Hollis asked what the old record said. Her reply came slowly, one short message at a time. The reliquary had been found among materials from an old commercial storehouse in Ishikawa. The surviving notes were not a clean provenance. Names were missing. Dates conflicted. Some references appeared to describe merchants rather than priests. One note suggested that objects like the reliquary had been used as warnings in trading houses where several people handled stored goods. Another referred to entrusted property. Another warned against taking goods from a ledger without permission. Najaho wrote, maybe merchant protection, maybe later folk story. Cannot verify. Hollis appreciated that line. Najaho added that the four-part sequence was not something she had known from memory. After Hollis sent the inscription photograph, she had gone back through the old storehouse papers and compared several fragmentary notes. He asked about ending the effect. Najaho answered with 4 conditions. Admit taking, return or repair loss. Return object willingly. Do not blame another person. Hollis read them again. Admission, restitution, voluntary return. No skiftivlam. Hollis asked. I paid for it, and Marrow removed it without permission. Did ownership ever transfer to him? Nahyoansiv. No, that was the structure. Hollis had remained the lawful owner. Marrow had physical custody, but no purchase, gift, loan, or permission. He had spent weeks moving the object when the object cared about why it was there. Distance was irrelevant because the unresolved relationship remained the same. Hollis called Sable. She was still staying with her sister. After he explained Najaho's 4 conditions, Sable said, so he has to apologize to a box. No, that sounded exactly like what you described. He has to correct what he did to people. The box is just one item. That is somehow worse for him. Yes. Sable was quiet. Then she said, he isn't going to do it. I know. Marrow's next stop was his brother Doran's house. Doran Pike lived north of Bellwether and ran a plumbing supply business. Hollis had met him once at a neighborhood cookout. Doran was 4 years older than Marrow, divorced, blunt, and visibly impatient with conversations that took too long to reach the point. At 11:30 that morning, Doran called Sable. Sable called Hollis. A few minutes later, Hollis was speaking to Doran on speakerphone. Doran did not bother with an introduction. What the hell did my brother steal? Hollis answered, an antique wooden reliquary. Does it usually show up in guest rooms? Not legally. There was a pause. Then Doran laughed. Okay, I like you more than Marrow said I would. That makes one of you. Doran lowered his voice. He says you're running a scam. I'm not. He says the police are helping you pressure him. They're investigating property that appears to have been taken. He says the whole neighborhood turned on him. Hollis looked at the inventory on his monitor. That part may be closer to accurate. Doran asked, what do you want him to do? Return what belongs to other people. Compensate for what can't be returned. Stop accusing everyone else. Then return the reliquary properly. What does properly mean? Admit he took it without permission and return it because it belongs to me. Doran was silent for a moment. Then he shouted away from the phone. Marrow, a distant voice answered. What? Is this the thing you stole? Marrow came closer. I didn't steal it. Doran looked at the reliquary and asked, then why does everyone keep calling it the thing you stole? Marrow said something Hollis could not understand. Doran returned to the phone. He's angry. That appears stable. Doran laughed again. Later that afternoon, Doran called Hollis directly. His tone was different. I asked him how he got it. What did he say? He said it was sitting outside. Outside where? That's what I asked. Hollis waited. Doran continued. He wouldn't say at first. Then he said it was unattended. Hollis closed his eyes. Doran said, I asked whether you gave it to him. No. Did he buy it from you? No. Did you lend it? No. Then I asked why he opened a package with your name on it. What did he say? If somebody really cared, they would come ask. Hollis felt something settle in him. There was again. Responsibility belonged to the victim. If they noticed, they should complain. If they complained, they should prove it. If they proved it, Marrow might return the thing. If they did not, possession became his. Doran said quietly, He's not stupid. I know. That makes it worse. Yes. Doran asked, what do I do with him? That is your decision. You're not going to tell me to throw him out? No. Why? Because you asked what you should do, not what I want you to do. Doran was silent. Then he said, I see why you make him crazy. What does? You don't give him the easy fight. Hollis looked at the delivery photograph that had started everything. I'm tired of easy fights. That night, Marrow saw the shadow directly for the first time. Doran later described what happened. Marrow had gone upstairs to use the bathroom. He stopped in the hallway. The bathroom light was off, but the mirror caught enough light from the hall to show his reflection. Behind him stood the tall, dark figure. It was no longer trapped inside a camera recording. Marrow saw it. Long limbs, dark face, a body that looked like several overlapping silhouettes forced into one outline. The same shape carved on the reliquary. Marrow backed into the wall. Doran came upstairs and asked what was wrong. Marrow pointed to the mirror. There. Doran saw only the hallway. Where? Behind me. There's nothing there. Marrow ran downstairs. The reliquary sat on the dining table. He grabbed it in both hands. Doran followed. What are you doing? Taking it back. To Hollis? Yes. Doran looked relieved. Marrow reached the front door. The moment he stepped outside, the weight vanished from his hands. He looked down. His palms were empty. From a dining room came 3 knocks. Pause. 2. Pause. 3. Doran and Marrow both turned. The reliquary was back on the table. Marrow whispered, No. Doran said, Maybe it knows you're lying. Marrow spun toward him. I was going to take it back. Were you? Yes. What were you going to say? That Hollis can have it. Doran shook his head. That isn't the same thing. Whose side are you on? The side where words mean things. Marrow left before dawn. He did not take the reliquary. He did not need to. By 6:22, Sable had sent Hollis a photograph. The reliquary sat on the passenger seat of Marrow's SUV. The SUV was parked in his own driveway in Cedar Hollow. Hollis looked through the studio window. Marrow remained behind the wheel for nearly 20 minutes. Then he got out and went inside. He left the reliquary on the seat. Half an hour later, Sable sent another message. It's in the kitchen. Hollis looked at Najaho's 4 conditions again. The path was simple. That was exactly why Marrow could not walk it. He still wanted a version where he could keep the conclusion and avoid the admission. The next day, Marrow rented a storage locker across Bellwether. He sealed the reliquary inside a cardboard box, locked the unit, and left. Later, he returned, accusing the staff of entering it. The lock was intact. With a responding officer present, the manager opened the unit. The sealed box was still inside. Marrow cut the tape. Then Doran called. Is it still in a locker? Marrow stared at the reliquary. Yes. Then why is there another one in my office? Later, Doran explained that an identical reliquary had appeared on his desk at the plumbing supply business. The moment Marrow opened the storage box, the office copy disappeared. When Officer Mercer repeated the story to Hollis, even he sounded tired of impossible sentences. So not 2 boxes, Hollis said. Apparently not. That helps. Mercer stared at him. Ow! It narrows the absurdity. Glad someone is enjoying methodology. Marrow abandoned the locker and drove for hours in any direction that was not Cedar Hollow. At 7:52, his navigation display went black. One word appeared. Home. Marrow pulled onto the shoulder. He called Doran. Doran called Sable. Sable called Hollis. He says he's not going back, Sable said. That won't solve it. I know. She sounded exhausted. Then she asked, Do you think home means our house? Hollis looked at Najaho's messages. No. What does it mean? I think it means the unresolved ownership relationship. Sable was silent. That is the least useful definition of home I've ever heard. I agree. After that, he stopped searching for a place the box could not reach. He drove back to Cedar Hollow, not because he had accepted the rules, because he had run out of geography. The following morning, Marrow made his most serious attempt to reverse the situation. He filed a complaint claiming Hollis was using the story of a cursed antique to frighten and extort him. The allegation was no longer neighborhood gossip. 2 officers came to Hollis's house. Officer Mercer was one of them. The second was Sergeant Lenora Shaw, who had not been involved in the earlier calls. Shaw sat at Hollis's dining table and opened a notebook. "Mr. Vane, did you threaten Mr. Pike or demand money for yourself in exchange for making the supernatural event stop?" "No." "Did you ask him to return the reliquary?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because I bought it." Hollis provided the purchase record, tracking history, delivery photograph, and Merrow's deleted neighborhood post showing the same object in his kitchen. Merrow had no purchase, gift, or loan record. Officer Mercer added the independent headphone video, the Renwick parcel image, photographs from the Pike basement, and the inventory of serial numbers and identifying marks. Merrow's extortion complaint sat beside Hollis's purchase receipt. Mercer looked at the two stacks. "Mr. Pike has a lot of explanations," he said. "Mr. Vane has receipts." Sergeant Shaw almost smiled. She asked how Hollis had calculated compensation for property that had been consumed, damaged, or could not be returned. Original purchase records were available. Reasonable replacement value where appropriate. If ownership could not be supported, I left the item unresolved. Even if you believed Mr. Pike probably took it. Yes. Why? Because belief isn't documentation. Sergeant Shaw closed the folder. That is not extortion. When Shaw left, Mercer remained near the front door. "He's running out of directions," the officer said. Hollis looked across the lawn. "He has one left." Mercer nodded. "Yeah." That afternoon, Bramwell Quill announced an emergency HOA meeting. The meeting was not a criminal hearing, and Bram wrote that 3 times in the notice. The association had its own issues to address: unauthorized entry onto neighboring property, misuse of complaint procedures, false statements connected to HOA filings, and conduct affecting community safety. Merrow said the meeting was part of Hollis's campaign against him. Bram called Hollis personally. "I need you there." "Why?" "Because half of his current defense is that you organized the neighborhood against him." "I didn't." "I know. Then why do you need me?" "So I can say that while you're sitting in the room." The meeting began at 7. The small HOA room was full. Bram sat at the front with 2 committee members. Officer Mercer stood near one wall, present as an observer. The Lowens sat with her binder. Evo and Marin sat together. Sable was near the aisle. Doran stood at the back. Hollis asked why he had come. Doran shrugged. "He's my brother." That was enough. Merrow entered last. No one booed. No one shouted. The conversations simply stopped. Bram began with procedure. The HOA would not decide theft charges. It would not decide whether a supernatural event had occurred. It would address documented community conduct. Then the evidence began. Photographs from Merrow's old complaints showed him standing beyond property boundaries. Several residents described deliveries or objects that had disappeared. Bram reviewed complaints containing false statements. Sable confirmed that packaging and property belonging to other residents had been found in the Pike basement. Hollis presented only the parts of his inventory supported by records. Merrow interrupted repeatedly. The packages were cheap. Some had been misdelivered. Some people had received refunds. The photographs were being misunderstood. The basement had been planted. The videos were manipulated. Hollis was using occult nonsense to destroy his reputation. Officer Mercer finally spoke from the wall. "Mr. Pike, the impossible recordings are not the reason I'm here." Merrow turned. "Then why are you here?" "Because there is normal footage of you taking Mrs. Rusk's grandson's headphones. There is normal footage of you carrying a Renwick package. There are shipping labels and serial numbers recovered from your residence. That doesn't prove everything." "No," Mercer said. "It doesn't." Merrow stopped. Mercer continued, "And no one here should pretend it does. But it proves enough that your explanations need to make sense." Merrow looked toward Hollis. "You wanted this." Hollis answered, "I wanted my package." "You wanted everyone against me." "No. You made the list." "Yes. You called the police. Eventually, you contacted the seller. You made this into some cursed object story. I contacted the seller because you had the object she sold me." Merrow stood. "That thing follows me because of you." The wall clock stopped. No one noticed at first. Then the overhead lights flickered. Once. Twice. The clock display read 3:17. It had been 7:48 a.m. moment earlier. Ivo looked at it. Hollis, I see it. The room went quiet. The lights remained on. Nothing moved. Then Mero looked toward the dark window beside the meeting room door. His face changed. Hollis saw only reflections of chairs, fluorescent lights, and people. Mero saw the tall figure. It stood behind him in the glass, closer than it had ever appeared in the recordings. The overlapping shoulders rose above his own. The dark face had no clear features. One long arm followed the line of Mero's chair. Mero stepped away from the window. Doran caught his shoulder. What is it? Mero whispered, It's here. Doran looked at the glass. I don't see anything. Mero shut his eyes. Bram started to speak. Mero interrupted him. The first one was a mistake. No one understood for a second. Then Hollis did. He stayed silent. Mero opened his eyes, but did not look at the window. A package was left near my side of the property, he said. I picked it up. His voice was low. It wasn't mine. Sable looked at him. Mero continued. I knew after I looked at the label. No one interrupted. I thought I'd bring it over later. He swallowed. I opened it first. Eloan's expression hardened. It was something small, Mero said. Cheap. I don't even remember what. His shoulders dropped. Then I forgot. Doran said nothing. Mero looked at the table. The second time I knew. There it was. A simple human line. Not a curse. Not a rule. A choice. I knew the package wasn't mine, Mero said. I told myself the driver had made the mistake. I told myself if the owner cared, they would come ask. Marin watched him. Sometimes we did, she said. Mero nodded. Bram asked, What did you do when people asked? Mero's voice became smaller. I said I hadn't seen anything. The room remained silent. After a while it was easy, Mero said. He glanced toward the window and immediately looked away. Packages sat outside for hours, sometimes overnight. His tone turned defensive for one last moment. I only did it because nobody ever stopped me. Hollis felt the sentence land. For months, Mero had built every excuse around that belief. No one stopped me. No one asked correctly. No one proved it fast enough. No one cared enough. Hollis stood. Mero looked at him. Hollis did not smile. He did not raise his voice. That isn't the same as permission. Mero stared at him. The wall clock changed. 7:49. The lights stopped flickering. Mero looked toward the glass. His knees weakened. Doran caught his arm. Whatever Mero had been seeing was gone. The meeting ended without applause. That mattered. No one had defeated a monster. A man had finally said what he had done. Officer Mercer stayed behind to speak with Mero. Sable left with Doran. Hollis returned home. At 3:16 the next morning, his eyes opened automatically. He waited for the minute to change. 3:17. No knocking. 10 seconds. 30. Nothing. The silence felt provisional, not final. Hollis thought of Najaho's list. Admission might have stopped the escalation. It had not closed the account. At 3:19, Hollis's phone buzzed. Mero had sent a message. I admitted it. A second message followed. Why is the box still here? Hollis typed. Because admission was one part. There was a pause. Mero replied, I know. Then another message appeared. I'll start tomorrow. Hollis put the phone down. For once, the statement sounded accurate. Restitution took 12 days. It was not dramatic. They made it better. During those 12 days, the knocking did not return while Mero kept showing up to settle what he had taken. The first morning, Mero met Officer Mercer, Bram, and Hollis in the HOA room. Sable attended for part of the process. The inventory came first. Confirmed property was returned. Items that had been consumed, discarded, or damaged were compensated at reasonable value. No one invented penalties. No one added emotional fees. Hollis refused to let anger corrupt the record. Marin asked why he was being so strict. Because if the numbers become revenge, Mero finally gets something legitimate to argue about. Ivo said, accuracy is revenge. No. Eloan looked at him. Let him have a slogan. Her grandson received the headphones. Eloan received her garden shears. And Mero paid replacement value for the imported tea he had consumed. I am not selling forgiveness, she told him. I am settling an invoice. The Renwicks received the items that could still be returned and compensation for confirmed losses that could not. Other tools, household goods, and small deliveries went home the same way. Each return required a clear owner. Each compensation required support. When a ceramic planter looked familiar to one resident, but she had no photograph, receipt, or identifying mark, Hollis left it unresolved. Marrow asked, "So I don't have to pay for that one?" "No," Hollis said. "You think I took it?" "I suspect you may have. Then why not put on the list?" "Because suspicion is not proof." Marrow stared at him. For the first time, the standard protected Marrow. That seemed to confuse him. Hollis understood why. Marrow had spent years treating rules as weapons that belonged to whoever used them first. He was finally seeing what a rule looked like when it applied both directions. Hollis claimed only the recovered property he could support with records. His direct expenses related to the attempted framing and added security were documented separately and reviewed by Officer Mercer. No inflated number. No dramatic damages. The total was not spectacular. That was the point. Marrow had built years of harm from small decisions, each one cheap enough that the victim might decide arguing was not worth the time. Now, every small thing had a line. Sable's part was harder. Among the records was a personal order of hers that had vanished months earlier. Marrow had blamed the delivery driver. He replaced it. Then, in the quiet room, he looked at Sable. "I knew the driver didn't take it." Sable answered, "I know. I'm sorry." She waited. Marrow added, "I'm not asking you to come home." That mattered more than the apology. Sable's expression softened slightly. "I don't know what happens to us." "Neither do I." No forced reconciliation. No promise that 12 days of paperwork could repair a marriage. Just a truthful uncertainty. Hollis found that more convincing than a dramatic speech. Correct the account. Do not invent what comes after. By the 12th day, 43 lines had become a much smaller list. Returned, compensated, disputed, and resolved. Unresolved. Every item Marrow admitted taking had been returned or compensated. The unresolved entries were objects no one, including Marrow, could reliably connect to a theft. Officer Mercer closed his working file for the restitution process. Bram closed the HOA inventory record. Hollis closed the spreadsheet. Marrow looked at the empty table. Then at Hollis. "One left." Hollis nodded. "Yes." The Cajabito reliquary had not appeared at any of the restitution meetings. It remained in Marrow's house. At least, that was what Marrow said. No one checked. No one needed to. That evening, at 8:22, someone knocked on Hollis's front door. 3 normal knocks. No pause. No pattern. Hollis knew who it was before he looked. Marrow stood on the porch. He wore a dark shirt and jeans. No polished, neighborhood president posture. No angry performance. He held the reliquary with both hands. The red silk was intact. The copper corners showed only their old wear. The carved, overlapping figures looked exactly as they had in the cellar photographs. Marrow did not set the box down. He did not push it at Hollis. He did not look toward the camera. He looked at Hollis. For several seconds, neither man spoke. Then Marrow said, "I took this from you without permission." Hollis remained still. Marrow continued, "I'm returning it because it belongs to you." No flea market. No delivery mistake. No unattended package. No take your junk. No explanation. The sentence was simply accurate. Hollis opened the storm door and held out both hands. Marrow placed the Cajabito reliquary into them. The weight surprised Hollis. Not because it was heavy, because it was ordinary. Wood, copper, silk. Almost exactly the weight he had expected when he bought it. No lights flicketh. Nothing turned cold. No shadow crossed the porch. Marrow released the box. For the first time since the delivery notification, Hollis physically held the object he had paid for. Marrow stayed on the porch. Hollis looked down. Professional habit took over immediately. Corners. Binding. Surface. Lit. Signs of cracks. There were none. Then he tilted the box and checked the bottom. The old paper label remained attached. Faded. Damaged. Partly unreadable. One corner looked different. A narrow black stroke crossed a section of paper Hollis did not remember containing ink. Not a word. Not clearly a character. just one dark mark against old fibers. Marrow noticed him staring. "What?" Hollis looked up. "Nothing I can prove." Marrow almost laughed. "Almost." Then he asked, "Are we done?" Hollis considered the question. The property account was nearly done. The criminal investigation was continuing separately. The HOA had its own consequences. Sable had not decided whether their marriage would continue. Several neighbors would probably never trust Marrow again. Hollis himself had not decided whether forgiveness was relevant. But that was not the question Marrow meant. "This part is done," Hollis said. Marrow nodded. Then he walked home. Hollis carried the reliquary into his studio. He had not put on a shelf. First, he photographed it. Front, back, sides, bottom, copper corners, red silk, paper label, new black mark. Then he opened the collection database. The record had become absurdly detailed. Original eBay listing, payment, shipping, delivery, unauthorized removal, return attempts, police references, recovered property connections, approximate translation, unverified supernatural observations. Hollis added a new line. Current status, returned by unauthorized possessor. Then he typed another, lawful possession restored. He looked at the sentence, deleted it, replaced it with, lawful possession continued. That was more accurate. The ownership had never stopped. Only custody had changed. At 11:20, Hollis placed the Cajabito reliquary inside a glass cabinet reserved for his private collection. He created a small card. Cajabito reliquary. Japan. Date uncertain. Function uncertain. Provenance incomplete. Private collection. Not for sale. Then he went upstairs. At 3:16 a.m., Hollis woke. His eyes opened before the clock changed. He waited. 3:17. No knocking. No phone notification. No flickering lights. Nothing moved downstairs. For the first time in weeks, 3:17 was simply a time. Hollis fell back asleep. Over the following months, Cedar Hollow became boring again. That was a compliment. Packages remained on porches until their owners brought them inside. No old property appeared in flower beds. No security cameras uploaded impossible clips. The HOA returned to ordinary disputes about parking, fences, and grass. Bram seemed happier with those. Sable remained away from the Pike house for several weeks. She and Marrow spoke. Hollis did not ask for details. Eventually, Marrow continued living in Cedar Hollow, but he became much quieter. He stopped filing complaints about every minor violation. He stopped wandering near other people's yards with his phone. When delivery drivers left packages at the wrong house, he walked them to the correct porch. The first time Ivo saw him do that, he messaged Hollis. Character development. Hollis replied, documented. Ivo sent a doorbell camera clip. Hollis answered, acceptable. No one lost another package. Hollis's business survived the incident without damage. A few clients heard enough of the story to make jokes. One longtime buyer came to inspect a 19th century print and asked, "You still buy things with stories?" Hollis answered, "Stories are fine. Missing provenance is expensive." The buyer looked toward the glass cabinet. "Is that the famous box?" "No, it looks like it." "That is different. You're not selling it?" "No." "How much?" "Not for sale" is not a pricing strategy. The client laughed. Hollis did too. He never promoted the Cajabito reliquary or claimed its story proved anything supernatural. In the database, the extraordinary events remained unverified observations. Receipts, video, serial numbers, shipping records, and statements remained ordinary evidence. The experience had not made Hollis abandon skepticism. It had made him more precise about it. He still could not prove what the reliquary was, only who bought it, where it was delivered, who took it, and when it was returned. One evening, several months later, Hollis stayed late in the studio updating records. The house was quiet. The Cajabito reliquary sat inside its glass cabinet. Its status remained unchanged. Private collection, not for sale. Provenance, incomplete. Hollis had added one more practical note to the file. Do not remove red silk binding. He had considered adding do not place mirror directly in front of object. Then he decided anyone authorized to handle it could read the original seller instructions. His computer chimed. An eBay notification appeared. Neijiho Kurabayashi had listed a new item. Hollis almost ignored it. Then he read the title. Antique Japanese Ritual Mirror. Meiji period. Do not use after midnight. Hollis stopped typing. He opened the listing. The photographs showed a small dark-framed mirror with cloudy silvering, old wood, and a backing panel marked by faded paper labels. The date was uncertain. The function was uncertain. The provenance traced only to another old commercial storage clearance. Neijiho had written all of that clearly. Hollis scrolled down. The first line of the description read, "For the lawful owner, there is no danger." Hollis stared at the sentence for 3 seconds. Across the room, the Kajibito reliquary remained perfectly still. As a professional art dealer, Hollis knew exactly what the most rational decision was. He moved the cursor and clicked Add to Cart.